Hiya crafters, Amy here from Amy's Wares. Today I'm going to show you an awesome new product that I recently acquired. It's called the Perfect Sentiments Stamp Set and Coordinating Die from Pinkfresh Studios. In this video I'm going to actually show you how I stamp them and use them and store them. And also kind of how they work really well with my batching habit, we'll call it. If you've seen anything that I've made or any of my other videos, it's probably pretty clear that I like to mass produce or batch things as much as possible to save time. So when innovative products like this come out that save me time and allow me to batch a lot of cards, I am all about it. So as you can see, this stamp set is actually one solid piece. I've taken a regular 8.5 by 11 piece of cardstock and cut it in half, and you can actually stamp this twice on that piece. So that means you could use this stamp and get all of those awesome sentiments. You could stamp it 4 times on a standard size piece of cardstock. So good value there, not a lot of paper wasted. So you can see here I'm just using a really dark black VersaFine ink to stamp this out with my Misty, and I do a couple times each round just to make sure I get really good coverage. You want to make sure the paper's nestled back in the corners so that it gets lined up properly, and here I give it another go just to get that really rich dark black, which is such a nice contrast to the white cardstock. So I repeat this process by flipping over the cardstock and stamping it on the other side. And then I'm actually gonna set that aside after I do these 2 rounds of stamping, just because this is actually a pigment ink and it takes quite a while to dry. So I don't really want to mess with it yet and try and die cut it out at this point. So that's why you'll see I kind of just set this aside and let it dry and move on to the next part of the video. But isn't that awesome? Look at all those sentiments. It makes my batching heart go pitter patter. So here I'm going to show you that you can use it. Obviously, like any other stamp, you can heat emboss it. And I'm going to use some gold heat embossing powder from Brutus Monroe. And now I'm using the clear Versamark ink, which is the clear sticky embossing ink. And I go over that several times. I want to make sure that I get really good coverage. And this is just a plain 110-pound cardstock here that I'm using. So I believe I stamped this again one more time just to make sure I didn't miss any spots. And if you saw, I did use the magic powder bag as well. That was to eliminate static and get a much cleaner heat embossing. You can see some of the black was still on there, but that's okay. It'll get covered up with the gold heat embossing. So I'm careful to move slow for the video because, yeah, I'm a bit of a messy crafter. This is very neat for me here. I'm doing this for you guys because I'm actually a bit of a train wreck in the craft room, if I'm honest. So just moving very slowly and methodically here as to not launch the embossing powder all around my room, which I'm sure it's happened to you guys before. I know it's happened to me. So I let my heat tool warm up a little bit here, get it nice and hot before I bring it to the paper. And then the magic of the heat embossing, watching it melt. So fabulous, isn't it? And this Brutus Monroe, it's gilded by Brutus Monroe. It's such a nice, solid gold embossing powder too. I really like it. So I'm happy to have it in my crafty stash. So I'm just going to melt all these. And you'll see this is actually the one that I decide to use the coordinating die with. I left the black ones aside for another time, but I'm using some of this low-tack tape from scrapbook.com, this mint tape, and I'm just trying to line this up as best as I can. It's a little tricky, probably not doing it as good as I could because I don't want to put my big old head in the frame, but you get the idea. You just line it up and it cuts it all out in one go. It's pretty amazing. I get a little frustrated, if I'm honest. I don't quite have the patience to cut out little fiddly dies, so the fact that this cuts out this many sentiments with just one pass through the die cutting machine, it's my love language right here, okay? This is my love language. Just easy, gets me a lot of stuff, a lot of things ready to go for cards. Yeah, makes me very happy inside. So you can see, I'm just gonna kind of pull back the die here. See all the die cut goodness. Start popping out the sentiments. Not quite sure why I'm moving so slow here. Like I said, refer back to me being not very patient. I'm normally moving much faster. So anyway, I pull all these out. And I think the middle ones didn't pop out so good on their own. I think I had to line the die back up and put it back through. Honestly, that was probably more my fault. My plates are pretty warped, so you may want to run it through a couple times just to make sure you get it cut out well. And then I use this little pick tool to kind of push out the little pieces parts. Here you can see one tip with this. Some of these little bits, if there's residual pieces of paper left in them, make sure you go back and get it out, because if you batch this like I've done and create a bunch of these at once, if those little pieces get stuck in there, then it's going to inhibit it from cutting the next time you go around. So take that moment to just kind of pop out those little pieces. Now here is something that, again, I thought of to kind of save some time. I certainly don't have the patience to be cutting little tiny foam strips or little foam pieces to put behind these little sentiments. So I decided to take these sheets of adhesive backed foam and then just run this lovely one-piece die right through it. That way it'll be a perfect supported backer to the sentiment, and I don't have to mess with little tiny strips of foam tape or try and cut those to size, and yeah, save myself the aggravation. So what I did here was just decide to cut it right out on a full sheet of this adhesive backed foam, adhesive back foam and run it through a couple times, and then there you go. You have these ready to go as well, and all you have to do is then attach the sentiment to the foam sheet, and it's already got adhesive on the back, so it becomes like a sticker. So this is something that has worked out really well for me. I'm really pleased with this result. So what I try and do here is actually keep the pieces in the sheet, and you'll see why in a moment, why I've decided to go this route. So the ones that kind of pop out, I just kind of nestle them back in. That little yay was stuck. Got a little too excited. Anyway, so I shoved all that back in there, and then what you can do is decide which one you want to use for your card, and you can put the glue right on the sentiment. I also sometimes will put it right down on the foam sheet itself. Either works fine. Whatever toots your horn. And then you actually just lay it right down on the die cut part of the foam sheet. Kind of hold it down for a second. I'm not sure what other mediums would work. I just used some liquid glue here. It worked fine. You could also put a stamping block on top of it. But then you just pop it out. Look at that. Perfect, even dimension. Oi, love it. Then I use the little pick tool again. You can just pop the little center bits out, and you're good to go. I'm so thrilled over this, and it looks so pretty with that gold heat embossing, doesn't it? So there you go. Super easy, right? Just love how this turned out. Got the little backing on there that you can peel off. Okay, now if you've watched any of my other batching videos, you'll see that I have another red folder, which I use these same pockets. They're from Amazon. I'll link them in the comments with the other items listed, but basically they're baseball card holding pockets, and I use them to hold all my little bits and bobs. So I have one folder that's actually all stamped and colored critters and whatnot, and I used to have all these sentiments and everything in there as well. However, I kind of outgrew it, especially now with this new amazing product. So I created a whole separate one just for sentiments. And you can see I'm actually storing the little foam sheets in the side pocket, because then that way they won't take up that much more room in these little protector sheets that I'm using. So I'm just going to kind of file these away, but look at all those. As you can see, I've batched already all different colors. So I kind of have whatever I need ready to go, and then if I want to pop it up with dimension, I'll just refer back to my handy little foam sheet that's already been die cut and glue it on there. And there you go. Bob's your uncle. Okay, in true batching form, I'm sure you guys have these. I have loads of background panels already made, various different products. This is an amazing split stencil from A Colorful Life Designs. If you know me, you know I obsess over stencils and over A Colorful Life Designs. So I actually decide to use one of those. I use metallic watercolor with the stencil on this, and there's actually a separate video. I'll link that in the top corner if you want to check that out when you're done with this one. But that was a pre-made panel. It was already die cut, had the nice stitched edge ready to go. And so then I really just needed to attach the pieces. I had an A2 sized card base of 110 pound cardstock ready to go. And then I'm just using some liquid glue. I was going to use tape runner on this, but I forgot. Tape runner and this black watercolor paper are not friends, and I kind of tried to rip off some of the watercolor paper, so I reverted to the liquid glue to adhere it, which was no problem at all. So I attached that to the A2 card base, and there I am, peeking in, sorry. Use some acrylic blocks just to kind of hold it down a minute. And then that's ready to go. And then the magic. Peel off the backing of your amazing little handmade sticker. Spend 20 hours figuring out where you want to put it on the panel. Kind of like I did here. Nope, not there. So yeah, feel free to twiddle your thumbs while I figure out where I'm going to put this on the card. I think I finally decided lower right. That tends to be more my jam. And I liked the contrast with the blue and purple on the bottom, so that worked for me. But I slapped it down, and there you have it. Card finished. Can you believe it? Oh, wait, just kidding. It wasn't straight. Okay, now we're done. So there you go. Look at that. Perfect dimension. Do great in the mail because it's not going to get wonky. And there you have it. That finishes my card today. I hope you enjoyed this process and my batching ideas. I'd love if you hit like and subscribe to my channel, and I'll see you next time. Thanks for watching. Bye.